Hey guys, it's Kat. So this is a topic I have been wanting to talk about for a very long time now. And I really just wanted to know, does anybody feel the same way? So we now live in 2025 where hookup culture is now the norm these days, and a great number of people are choosing to not get married. Now, I can sit here and say that I wholeheartedly blame social media for what we've allowed, like I said, to normalize in our society these days. And I also believe that marriage is not as valued or sacred as it used to be. But most recently, I kind of had this sort of awakening, I guess you could say, and I can understand why a lot of people are choosing not to get married because they don't really see what benefits can come from being married. A lot of people are going to say that that's selfish, but I see it more as you're just being cautious. But for me, I've always known that I've wanted to get married and possibly still do one day. But the thing about it is I often struggle with these sort of conflicting thoughts to where I have it in my head. I'm just thinking, do I want to get married legally? Like, do I really want to? Or do I just want to have what they call a commitment ceremony and just not have the government involved at all? For me personally, I believe that marriage is more than just a piece of paper. And if you really look at it, just how marriage, I guess, has evolved over the past few decades, I mean, it's really turned into more of a scam to where it's just, the government obviously wants to have control as much as possible and pretty much just as much financial gain as they can get as well too. And for a lot of people who get divorced these days, because divorce rates are very high, it seems as though the women get more out of it than the men. But that's why it's also very important to sign that prenup, because of course you just never know what could happen. Divorce ruins a lot of people, and many like to sit here and say that comes from your insecurity or a lack of trust. And again, I don't believe so. That's just you wanting to be cautious. Now I just want to get away from the legal side of it and go more into the loyalty and commitment side, because like I had said in the beginning, hookup culture is now the norm. And like I said, I still believe in marriage, and for a lot of people like me that still do, we often worry about not being able to find someone who wants the same and be committed to us, to where it's almost just like we are just better off being single. A lot of people will probably say in the comments, you're still young, you have your whole life ahead of you, which I know that. I'm 25, but we can't help it sometimes just how crazy and just messed up the world has become. Here's a great quote, is that it's better to be alone than to be with someone who makes you feel like you're alone. Another thing that kind of turns me off from getting married these days is all of these different stories that I hear of people getting divorced and all of the horrible things that came from it after. I actually have this one friend that I've known since high school, and if I remember correctly, I think he had gotten married at 23, and they were together for about 2 years, but just a couple of months ago, they had split up and gotten a divorce. And just after hearing kind of what he went through with that, it kind of just made me question, do I really want to, get married and, I don't know, risk going through that in the future too. Another crazy story I have is when I was working at my first job, my kitchen manager was going through a divorce, and it was a very long process for him too. But the thing was, he would always say to me, don't get married, don't get married, just don't do it, don't do it. But the thing was, he never went into any specific detail, which I didn't really care for him to, because, you know, that's none of my business. But he would really just say, because, you know, of all the legal troubles that you have to go through, hiring an attorney, and it just, oh my gosh, just puts you in absolute debt unless you have some great insurance. But, you know, it's not fun because, you know, my parents got divorced too when I was really young, and just also seeing what they went through, you know, again, I'm just sitting here thinking, do I really want to go through all that or potentially risk going through that? And people always want to sit here and talk about, well, you should have chosen a better person. Okay, do you not realize that that person that you met in the honeymoon phase is going to be a totally different person in the next 5 years or however long you're together? You also never really know a person until you live with them, and that can honestly show their true colors, whether it be good or bad. Things are not always as they seem, so don't ever be upset when people try to make you feel bad. Oh, you chose the wrong person. Because people will sit here and manipulate you all day long into getting into a relationship and marriage just to get something out of it. And I mean, we've all seen 90 Day Fiance, right? Where people are just getting married just so they can get out of poverty or just get their green card. But hey, some people are straight up with admitting that, and others are okay with getting people who admit that. But oh my gosh, the second, if I were to find out, like say I had a lot of money and somebody was only using me or leading me on, whether it be in a relationship or marriage, for years, which I think I would probably find out right away. But, you know, I think that's a valid reason, you know, for divorce, right? I also have a little story for you guys. So I was in a relationship for 5 years, and this was the only relationship serious that I had ever been in. And we had split up about a year ago, just mainly because we were on two different paths in our lives. But the thing was, I can sit here and say I am just so glad that we did not get married at such a young age and have kids, because I would probably be sitting here right now devastated from that being my first divorce. I know he's very happy about it too, but I guess the main point of this video today was to tell you guys, I'm not trying to tell people don't get married, but more so just be cautious and don't jump into things right away without really knowing what you're getting into. I think it mainly comes from the younger generation these days, and a lot of them, which not all of them, of course, but I think a great majority, they kind of just jump into marriages and deal with the honeymoon phase first, but then later on, it's not really, I guess, what they expected, because they don't really have what it takes to put in the effort or make the necessary sacrifices to make the marriage work or last. And I know what I said about hookup culture being the norm, which it still is, but then you have other youngins who want to get married. But again, that's the whole thing of, I think a lot of divorce rates are very high these days because it's just so many people are getting married so young in life. Like say it could be at 19, 20, 21, and then they're getting divorced a couple of years later because it just wasn't really what I guess was meant for them at the time, and they thought it was. I'm thinking here too, I mean, what's the rush? Why is everybody just in such a rush to get married? Is it because they feel like they're running out of time or something? But, you know, another story I have is that I have this coworker who she recently just got married and they have only been together for a year. And it's not really just being together for, I guess you could say, a short amount of time. It's more so the fact, like I said, she's just very young. And I think also this is both of their first and only relationship that they've ever had. And, you know, I do wish her the best, but at the same time, I kind of am just thinking, just make sure it's really what you want to do and it's what you know that you want before you make, you know, this big decision in your life. I do believe that I'll find the one I'm meant to marry one day, but for the time being, again, I'm just sitting here so happy that I didn't get married at such a young age because I can, I guess, finish out the rest of my 20s now and focus on my career. But, you know, you never know. He could come to me tomorrow for all I know. But I guess the other point is here too, and it's just crazy to me because I think I finally learned to enjoy being single because I wasn't for such a long time. And it really has been eye-opening as well. And I've done really a lot of things in the past couple of months to, you know, just make progress in my life. But yes, guys, I'm really curious to know your opinions on the matter. Do you want to get married one day? Do you not? But yeah, I love you guys. Stay blessed, and I hope to see you in the next video. All right, bye.